Booktube. I'm Novella. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about two World War I related stories or books. One is non-fiction and the other is fiction. We'll start with fiction. This is Grey Souls by Philippe Claudel. Philippe Claudel is a French author who is not only a well-established author but also a great film director. He has made the most beautiful film to me in the world, and that is I've Loved You So Long, Y'a longtemps que je t'aime, with a brilliant Kristen Scott Thomas, who was also nominated, I believe, for the Oscars or the Academy Awards. And his work revolves often around child loss, so if you're sensitive for that, be aware. This is also about child loss. It is set in 1917 in a small town, not too far from the front line, because they can hear the bombings and the explosions 24/7. But if you like my parents, they lived. My grandparents, they lived like 60 kilometers from the front line, and they could hear it also 24/7. So, yeah, within 100 kilometers of the border. Small little town. All the young men are left. The only people that are there are older people, children, and a policeman, a detective. And one very cold morning in wintertime, they find a little girl dead. She's 8 years old, she's murdered. And she's very well known. Her name is Belle du Jour. Her father is a well-known restaurant owner. And a couple of days later, they discover another body of the school teacher on the estate of the procureur. The procureur is the one who has to lead the investigation. Now, the story is told 20 years later, and it's told by the policeman who had to help investigate. And of course, he quickly realized that the procureur had something to do with the murders. He could never stop thinking about that case. And this is not a simple, straightforward story. It really is literary fiction and not just a crime novel. It really isn't. You have to put you have to connect the dots, let's say. And it's not straightforward, and there's no white or black. It's all gray area. Let's keep it to that. So it is brilliantly written. It's very sparsely written, like always, very un-French, I have to say. He really knows how to talk about feelings, and he is not some kind of macho male author. He has a really soft and delicate touch also with his film work, and it is very tender, very melancholic, and very surprising in the end. I really, really highly recommend this book. It's beautiful, but not something you can read in half a day. No, it's only 200 pages, but it took me, I had to read it in different stages because it's so dense in a way and so complex, but it's really good. And then from the author of The Butchering Art is now The Facemakers by Lindsey Fitzharris. The Facemakers, I have the Dutch copy. I don't like the cover as much as the American cover. So, but it says here, The Face of the First World War. This book is about the start of plastic surgery and reconstructive surgery, mostly. It was the first time that they had men on their table that were so gruesomely injured. Their whole faces were blown off. They missed noses, chins, everything. And most of the doctors just patched them up and sent them away because they were healed. But for a couple of doctors, they realized that the mental health of those patients was also very important. And it was very important to them that they could have a face again. I believe they call them in French les gueules cassées, which means the broken faces. And there were a couple of surgeons who, tried stuff. And then there was one who realized that at first you have to work very closely together with dentists. And so they repaired the mouth first, and then afterwards came the rest of the face. It was some things worked, other things didn't work. And sometimes they had to say, sorry, I tried something and it didn't work. And the patients mostly were understanding because they knew that they were treated well by the doctors, they were respected, and they really tried to regain face. And some patients were operated on for about 100 times and even more up until the late 1920s, but with success, reasonable success. There were also, she also talks about people, masks makers who recreated like a chin or forehead or whatever, so they can be recognizable again to their family, which was a success at the beginning. But the faces, the masks were very unpleasant to wear, and they were hand painted, but they also faded after a while. The colors faded, and it was really good. It was really interesting, tragic, also heartbreaking, because it was horrible for those men. They didn't dare to see their wives. They didn't dare to see their children because they would be shocked. Because they knew they looked like a monster, and a lot of women that really wanted to see their husband fainted because it was so horrible. It was a really interesting read, a lot better than I think the butchering art. The butchering art was more, wasn't a surprise to me in the sense that I didn't learn anything new. I kind of already knew because I did a lot of research for a book about that period, 1880s up to the start of the First World War, what they did and how they treated patients and the hygiene and everything. So for me, that wasn't a really big surprise, but this one was extremely interesting. So that's it. Excuse me for my non-iron shirt. It's way too hot to iron, and that's it. Sorry. Talk to you later.